China is denying American accusations of economic coercion, turning the complaint back on the U.S. This as Group of 7 finance ministers meet in Japan to discuss measures to counter Beijing's alleged hostile investment tactics.
中国自身就是美国经济胁迫的受害者，我们一贯坚决反对其他国家搞经济胁迫。我们敦促七国集团顺应开放包容的时代大势，停止搞封闭排他的小圈子，不要做经济胁迫的同谋和帮凶。
The U.S. is at the forefront in pushing for stronger steps against China, but European countries want to focus on coordination and general warnings. The discussions among the finance leaders will lay the groundwork for the G7 summit in Hiroshima next week. And Michio Ishida joins us now for more on the G7 meeting. Michio, analysts are basically saying that targeted controls of investments to China will be a double-edged sword. Why is that the case?
Well, as you know, U.S. Secretary Ms. Yellen has been stating there's concern over so-called China's economic coercion against other countries, and she wishes to counter its behavior by reducing reliance on China. Now, on the China issue, there's been media speculation that the finance ministers will try to diversify the supply chain. And Japan's spokesperson said they did discuss about the supply chain resilience with the countries, and there were various views expressed, but he did not give the details. What he said is that the chair, Japan, did not try to target a specific country. That means Japan did not name specifically China. And it's on this backdrop. Countries, including Japan, rely on trade with China. And for example, Brazil, which is invited to participate at the G7 finance ministers meeting this time, its biggest export of its poultry is to China. And let me add this, that its fertilizers for poultry industry, they're imported from Russia. So it's going to be very difficult in this sense to unify views of G7 and the other countries that are participating this time.
Right. So aside from China, Michio, what else will the G7 finance ministers be discussing going forward?
Yes, well, the first session discussed the situation in Ukraine. And to show that Japan is committed, the chair, Mr. Shinichi Suzuki, said already on Thursday that Japan will commit to offer $1 billion to support countries accepting refugees from Ukraine. And Ukrainian finance minister is reported to have participated online. Now, another that seems to take center stage is the concern of U.S. debt limit. Now, several U.S. banks, as you know, failed this year. Will the U.S. go into a default? Now, Japan's spokesperson said that Ms. Yellen explained in detail about the U.S. situation during the G7 meetings. Now, it's for the first time in 14 years that countries not in G7 were invited this time to attend the finance ministers' meeting. They include a G20 chair, India, ASEAN chair, Indonesia, South Korea, the Comoros, Brazil, and Singapore. Now, Mr. Suzuki wants to deepen cooperation with emerging economies. This includes data on debt, and Japan will contribute by sharing debt data with the World Bank. Now, during the outreach session, they also discussed taking climate action to deal with climate change, strengthen infrastructure investment, strengthen the supply chain for a mutually beneficial partnership. Now, there will be another session on Saturday, and after that session, a joint statement is to be issued, and that statement is expected to be submitted to the G7 summit in Hiroshima next week.
Right, I'm sure we'll be speaking to you then. Thanks very much, Michio Ishida, there reporting to us live from Nagata, Japan.